Hi there, welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and our little cooking show is all about sharing dinners for two for your next romantic date night in. Tonight's feast will get started off with a hummus plate with plenty of fresh vegetables to share with your sweetie. For the main course, we'll feature breaded chicken stuffed with cheese and bake in a rich curried butternut squash sauce. On the side, curried vegetables and pasta. So let's get started on the hummus. First thing that you're going to need to do is add about 15 ounces of fully cooked white beans. You can choose Great Northern beans, navy beans, or even classic garbanzo beans. Next thing you'll need to do is juice about half a lemon into it. Lemon juice adds enough acidity to really make the flavors of the whole hummus dish pop. Next thing that you'll want to add is about an ounce of olive oil, a couple cloves of garlic, about a teaspoon of cumin, and a quarter teaspoon of salt. And then you just want to puree this up. Add more olive oil as needed to ensure a nice, smooth consistency. Really want to puree it up till it's nice and smooth. Let's give it a little taste and see how it is here. Ooh, that's really nice. You can taste the garlic and the brightness of the lemon juice, and the olive oil just kind of brings it all together. It's absolutely wonderful. Now on to the next thing. So with this plate, I'm suggesting that you serve lots of vegetables. That way it takes the place of a salad. So what I'm doing is I'm scoring about the bottom third of a cucumber with a nice wide fork here. And that is for the presentation. Give a little slice here. And cut off slices about a 1/4 inch thick. And you can see that the scoring has pushed the skin deep into the flesh of the cucumber and made it look very pretty. I'm going to add this to my plate here. Nice little line of gorgeous little cucumbers. Yummy. The next thing to add is going to be a red element. So I'm going to take one whole Roma tomato that I've also sliced and layer it in here next to the cucumbers. See, when you're creating a salad dish, you want to think about the colors of the food that you're putting on the plate. An example, I'm alternating red and green, so warm tones and cool tones should sit opposite each other. So a little layer of snow peas right there. Next part, some red bell peppers. I've already sliced them up into nice thin strips. Just going to lay them in here next to the snow peas. And then I have some wedges of radishes. These are going to look beautiful just kind of sitting about, you know, showing their pretty red and white selves. And some olives. So I'll add a nice contrast. Really want to think about a salad plate as a piece of art. The more pretty you make it, the more edible it is, the more your sweetie's going to dig on it. And finally, I have these little mini pita pockets, and I'm going to slice them on the bias to make little triangles. I'll layer these in right here at the end. And all around the dish that I'm going to be putting the hummus in. Love pitas, they're so yummy. And this is my favorite type. I like the type that is actually a pocket. That way you can open it up and fill it up with the hummus and the vegetables. It's more fun that way. There we go. And finally, let's bring the hummus into the picture here. And this hummus is just a beautiful, smooth consistency. You can use a variety of tools to puree it. You saw me using a little mini food processor. You can also think about using a blender or even something old school like a food mill. I love the texture of this sauce. For some reason, I prefer the flavor of plain white beans to the flavor of garbanzo beans in a hummus. Just feel like it's brighter and cleaner. However, you can use whatever sort of white beans you want. Smooth out the surface here because there's just a little bit of garnishing that needs to be done to the hummus. Want to add a nice little dollop of olive oil, or dollop, how about a drizzle? Make it all shiny and pretty. Need a little bit of a red element on top, so some chili powder, some paprika, just sprinkled lightly over the top. A little green, some parsley. Parsley is a great garnish for this because it also helps to kill the garlic breath that one might have. Now, to make the rest of the dinner very smooth, I'm going to do a very important step right now before I serve out this delicious little hummus plate to my sweetie. I have half of a 3-pound butternut squash here. I've already scooped the seeds out of it, and I'm going to prepare it to steam. So I'm just going to cut it down to size here so that it fits in my steamer basket. And set it in there and get it steaming. It's going to need about 20 minutes or so to soften up the flesh so that I can scoop it out. It's a great thing to do before you sit down and have a little appetizer. Hey! Hey, where are you going with that? Hey, I made that. Hey!
Kitchen.
Hi, kitty. Well, there is some leftovers here and I don't want to lose those. So I'm just gonna pop them here in the fridge. I know we'll eat those later. In the meantime, it's time to move on to the curried butternut squash sauce. Let's take a look at the squash here and see if it's ready. Oh, that's perfect right there. It's fork tender, it's not overcooked, so now I just need to take it off the heat here. So now I just need to give it a few minutes to cool so that I can work with it. I'm gonna take it out of the steam pot here. And actually, I'm done with the steam pot altogether now. So I'm gonna pull out the strainer basket, dump out the hot water, and return it to the element to reheat it because now I'm gonna start working on sauteing together the sauce. I'm gonna add to my pan here a nice little dollop of olive oil and about 1/4 of an onion. To that, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of curry, a tablespoon of basil, a teaspoon of turmeric, and a couple cloves of garlic minced up. Oh, you're going to love this. This is so aromatic. It smells so good. Give it a little saute and give the spices a chance to blend with the olive oil and develop their full flavor potential. See, spices like curry and turmeric benefit greatly from a little time with direct heat and a little bit of oil to bind them together. It activates the antioxidants and all the micronutrients that are present in beautiful spices such as curry and turmeric and allows the flavor to develop fully. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of butter. It's going to really bring out the curry. You can smell it becoming very aromatic the second that that butter hits the curry. What a beautiful aroma. What a pretty color. Just want to saute this on low to medium-low heat for a little bit of time and allow the onions to sweat out a little bit. Try to avoid letting them turn brown. I know it's a little bit hard to tell with the curry powder in there, but you know, do your best. I'm gonna let those onions and the garlic and the spices do their thing in there while I scoop out the flesh of this delicious butternut squash. So I'm just using a classic melon baller here. And I'm just scooping in there and pulling out the flesh. And if you've cooked it right, it should pull right off the skin. If it's a little undercooked, you'll have to work with it a little bit more. You really can't go wrong with either overcooking or undercooking. The point is that the flesh is soft enough for you to work with. If you get little bits of skin, Go ahead and pull them off, separate them out. It's not that they're inedible, they will cook down, but they just don't taste quite as good as the sweet, yummy yellow flesh of the butternut squash. I'm down to the last little bit of butternut squash that I'm scooping out of its skin. Oh, and this one is working with me nicely. It's just kind of peeling out of there. Perfect. Get this off my fingers here. And then let's put it in this pan here with all these beautiful sweated curried onions. Mmm. That's gonna be yummy. Get it all loved up in there. Allow it a few moments to mix with the onions and take on the flavor of the curry. This is gonna be so good. You're gonna love how straightforward and simple this sauce is, and yet how elegant it will be on your sweetie's palate. Turn the heat up a little bit here. Excellent. It's now ready for the final few ingredients. So I have a couple cubes of my famous chicken stock that's been reduced down to a glaze. I'm gonna add that in. Then I'm gonna add enough water to just about cover the ingredients that I have here in the bowl. About 1.5 cups. Then it's time for the cooking to do the work. So we're gonna crank the heat up, bring it up to a boil. I'm gonna add a nice amount of salt and pepper right now so that it cooks in nice and deep into the sauce. And then we're gonna cover it with a lid and allow it to simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. Now you'll notice that I used my own homemade chicken stock, and there's more about that on my website on the blog called On Stock Cookery at hotkitchenonline.com. Well, this is progressing very nicely. Love that. I see that it's now time to add about 1/4 cup of milk, which is going to enhance the creaminess and the sweetness of the whole sauce. And it's also time to smash it up a little bit. Break up what's left of the little balls of squash. You can also puree this in a blender or use a food mill if you prefer. However, the masher does a fine job breaking it all up and making it a nice, smooth, yet textured consistency. Great time to take a little taste here and check your seasonings. Mmm, that's really good. Just a touch more salt, a little bit more of a stir here. Put the lid back on and let it keep simmering while I prepare the chicken, which I have here in the fridge. So it's time to butterfly open the chicken breasts. So I'm going to lay them out here on my cutting board. I'm going to orient them so that I'm seeing the wing off to one side, the opposite side that I'm going to start my cut on. I'm going to lay my hand flat on top of the chicken and curl my fingertips up and run my knife through almost all of the chicken, leaving just enough attached to create a little hinge. So butterflying and stuffing a boneless, skinless chicken breast is a great way to enhance the flavor without adding a whole bunch of extra calories. I'm going to sprinkle on just a little bit of parsley in the middle, enhance the flavor. And then I have a couple ounces of a beautiful white cheese. This is called Beecher's Flagship Cheese. I believe it's half cheddar and half Gruyere, and it has a nice, strong, rich flavor and excellent melting qualities, which is why it's a great candidate for this recipe. So I'm just going to take that and fold the yummy cheese into the chicken breasts. Then I'm going to drizzle a little olive oil over the top. And this is going to help the breadcrumbs to stick to the surface. Rub it in. So I'm using seasoned breadcrumbs. I'm going to roll it carefully. Sprinkle a little extra on top, kind of pat it in a little bit, and return it to the cutting board for a few moments. Really simple, straightforward breading process here with this recipe. Now I'm going to give my hands and my little olive oil a little wash off here. And with everything clean, I'm going to resume my cooking. So I'm going to grab a baking pan here, and I'm going to spoon a little bit of this delicious sauce into the bottom of the pan. Give it a nice little stir. Scoop. The sauce is going to sit underneath the chicken and allow it to infiltrate the entire breast with its gorgeous flavor. Want a nice little base layer to work with. Maybe about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. And then take the chicken breasts and place them right in the sauce. Yum! How tasty is that? And then these guys are ready for the oven. I have my oven preset at 350 degrees, and I'm going to bake these for about 45 minutes. So this butternut squash sauce is perfect in every way, just how it is right now. So I'm going to pull it out of the pan and stop it from cooking. And I'm just going to hold it on the side for a little bit. I'll rewarm it right before I'm ready to serve it up with dinner. So with your chicken baking and your sauce done, it's a great time to take about a 20-minute break before you start working on the pasta and the vegetables. Well, now the chicken has been in the oven for about 30 minutes, so it's a great time to go ahead and get started on the rest of the dish. The first thing to think about is cooking off the pasta. I have some fun little Campanelle pastas, that's what the name of this shape is, and they're going to need to boil for about 10 to 12 minutes. You're going to need to salt the water quite heavily to make sure the pasta gets seasoned all the way through, and also add a little bit of olive oil to enhance the flavor and also to help the pasta from sticking to itself. Give it a nice little stir right after you throw it in and let it do its thing. In the meantime, you can start working on the curried vegetables. Begin by adding about a tablespoon of butter to a nice saute pan that you've pre-warmed. Give it a little moment to get melted and happy. Add in about 1/2 of an onion sliced into pretty long slices. Give it a little toss. And to that, go ahead and add about 1 carrot that you've sliced into nice thin little slices. Add that into the happy mix here. So you want to give those carrots and onions a moment to saute by themselves. They're going to form the foundation of the flavor for the curried vegetables. And by giving them a few moments to come into their own, you're going to have a much better end result. Yum! These have a nice little sear on them. They're softening up. I love the color. I love the aroma. Let's move on to the next element, which is some fairly thickly sliced mushrooms. You'll need 2 to 4 mushrooms depending on the size. Just a little saute here. Allow them a moment to soak up the olive oil and blend with the onions and the carrots. It's looking a little dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add just a touch of olive oil. There we go. And now let's bring in the spices. So I have about a tablespoon of curry here. I'm going to add that in. And I also have about a teaspoon of flour. Blend that in. Give that curry a chance to come to its full flavor and give the flour a chance to blend with the fats and create a quick little roux. You can smell that curry. That is beautiful. Next element is the greens. I have 2 handfuls of greens here, some spinach, some spring greens. Toss these in. Give a little fold, a little saute. I just want to see them start to wilt down a little bit. What a nice combination of vegetables this is. Yum. You can see that the greens are wilting already. It's perfect. The greens wilt so quickly because they're so fine. Just a couple seconds of contact with the hot pan and there you go. Season it up with some salt, quite a bit of salt. You need quite a bit of salt to bring out the flavor of the curry. A little bit of pepper to round it out. And then the final ingredient, about an ounce's worth of heavy cream. This is going to bind that curry and that flour to the vegetables and just result in an absolutely beautiful side dish to complement the chicken. Let's get these delicious vegetables off the heat so as not to overcook them. And it's also time to drain the pasta. So I'm going to need a colander over here in my sink. I always like to hit my pasta with a little cool water to stop it from cooking. Shake off the excess. Bring it back to the hot burner. Add a little olive oil or butter, whatever you prefer, into the pan. And toss the pasta in it. That's going to help keep it from sticking. A couple quick little stirs and you should be good to go. And set this off to the side as well. And now it's time to think about plating, and it's definitely time to get the chicken out of the oven. Smells so good. I can't wait to see how it looks. That is beautiful. And now it's time to get busy plating. I'm going to take a classic 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 approach with this. About 1/3 of the plating is going to be vegetables, 1/3 of the plating will be starch, and the other third will be the main feature, the protein or the chicken. Yum. Here and scoop up one of these gorgeous, gigantic chicken breasts. Nestle it on in next to the sides. Your sweetie is gonna dig on this. Finally, take a little bit of that delicious butternut squash sauce and spoon it lovingly over the pasta. You can spoon a little over the chicken if you like as well. And then hit it with some of that delicious cheese. And these are ready. So with a few purposefully chosen ingredients and loving preparation, you can whip up an amazing meal for your sweetie that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. I would suggest pairing this meal up with a Pinot Gris, a Pinot Noir, or maybe an off-dry Riesling. Now call in your sweetie. Goodbye. Hi, handsome.
Hello, beautiful.
How are you?
Okay. I love it.
I should put this on the table. Scrappy girl. Oh, thank you, dear. So I whipped up something special and unique this week.
This looks delicious. Yummy.
I hope you like it.
Sure I will. That's really good. This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night-night. Pet the kitties.